Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this community briefing on COVID-19 and our local response efforts. Joining me again is interpreter Margie Propp, and thank you so much, Margie, for providing your services. And thank you to the media and for our residents who are tuning in to learn more about how you can protect yourselves, your loved ones, and our community during this pandemic. We want to remind everyone to please visit our website, covid19.lincoln.ne.gov, where you can continue to access additional updates and resources to help navigate these times. The website includes a data dashboard that is updated daily about the time of this briefing. That dashboard has more detailed demographic information from our case investigations. On the website, you will also find our COVID-19 risk dial. This is a visual, color-coded depiction of local conditions we are experiencing here in Lincoln and Lancaster County. In essence, it's a forecast of risk of community spread. Along with the forecast of local risk, the dial offers guidance for individuals and businesses about what actions and behaviors we can take to protect our health and the health of everyone in our community. And even though a number of key public health criteria have been trending in the right direction here in Lincoln and Lancaster County, we want to be clear that the risk of COVID-19 spread remains high. With the easing of some directed health measures beginning June 1st, and with it taking longer for some test results to return from private labs than we would like them to in order to be able to perform our contact tracing locally, we all need to be prepared for a potential uptick in COVID-19 infections. And we all need to play a role in preventing any uptick from becoming a surge. And here's how we all can do that. Commit to good hand-washing hygiene. Wear a face mask around others outside your household. And to keep 6 feet of physical distance from others. As I mentioned yesterday, June 1st is not some magical date when we are out of the woods. On the contrary, this is when the difficult, longer-term work of the dance begins. The work of coexisting with and containing the virus until there is a vaccine. We cannot emphasize enough how important it is that everyone frequently wash their hands with soap and water, 6 feet distance from others, and wear masks, and to stay home if you're sick. These are proven public health strategies necessary both for our economic recovery going forward and to protect the lives of our loved ones, friends, and neighbors. For our situation update today, we want to share with you that in Lincoln, an additional 23 individuals have tested positive for COVID-19. The total number of lab-confirmed cases in Lincoln now stands at 1,120. Our total recoveries identified to date are up from 134 to 158 individuals. And here to share additional important public health messages and more on the latest case investigations is Health Director Pat Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start today by talking about the overall positivity rate. This compares the total number of positive cases with the total number of tests completed. So looking at where we are today, the total number of positive cases in Lancaster County is 1,120. The total number of tests we've completed in the county is 14,162. That means the overall positivity rate is 7.9%, which is unchanged from yesterday. We also review the daily and weekly positivity rates, but the overall positivity rate is a better understanding of the trend or pattern we are seeing. The overall rate for the state is down from 14% Tuesday to 13.9% today. The national rate remains steady at 14.3%. The number of COVID-19 patients in our hospitals has decreased from 36 on Tuesday to 35 today. 23 are Lancaster County residents and 12 are from outside the county. The number of patients on ventilators remains at 11, 7 from Lancaster County and 4 from outside the county. These numbers are reported daily to provide an up-to-date look at how COVID-19 is impacting hospitalizations. Early on in the pandemic, Lincoln hospitals voluntarily postponed elective surgeries to increase the availability of beds if needed for COVID-19 patients. Because our residents did a great job of flattening the curve, we have avoided a surge of hospitalizations, and capacity has not been a problem. The local hospitals and surgery centers resumed elective surgeries on May 4th, and they have continued to increase the number each week. This has been done gradually, and there has been little impact on the overall hospital capacity. In terms of hospitalization, we are seeing changes in the ratio of Lancaster County residents and non-residents. 4 weeks ago on April 27, 31 of the 35 COVID-19 patients hospitalized were from outside Lancaster County. This coincided with the outbreaks in Grand Island and Kearney areas. The first 2 weeks of May, we saw more positive cases reported in Lincoln, so we are now seeing more local patients being hospitalized. Today, as I mentioned, 23 of the 35 COVID-19 patients are from Lancaster County. So our hospital counts have remained steady, but patient count is now more local than regional. We know that could change, and we do have the capacity to respond quickly to a regional outbreak. The number of Lancaster County residents who tested positive who are connected to the outbreak at the Smithfield plant in Crete has increased from 308 yesterday to 313 today. 181 are employees at the plant, and 132 are family members or other direct contacts. We have no additional cases reported at the Smithfield plant in Lincoln or Smart Chicken in Waverly. Both have reported 25 cases. Doctors' offices were closed on Monday, so no orders were provided by physicians for their patients to get tested. As a result, Bryan Health and CHI St. Elizabeth completed just 163 tests at the hospitals and through the drive-through testing sites. They do have the capacity to test 300 to 500 people a day, and we do expect testing to increase again this week. Again, if you have symptoms, we urge you to get testing processes started at chihealth.com, bryanhealth.com, or testnebraska.com. We are continually monitoring the testing capacity in the community to ensure that healthcare workers, first responders, and those in high-risk groups are being tested. We also want to make sure that testing is well distributed throughout the community, and whether testing is needed at a particular business, healthcare facility, or other location. We will continue to work with these situations to determine which is the best way to test these individuals. We are also reaching out to meet the needs of our most vulnerable populations, those who may be unable to meet basic needs, those with language barriers, and those who have been most impacted due to job shutdowns or interruptions in services like healthcare and childcare. The Lincoln Cultural Centers have been doing a wonderful job in staying connected with people they serve and assisting the health department and other organizations to get important messages out about the COVID-19 response. They have done this in multiple languages. Their dedicated staff have been very busy providing area agencies and with translation services, monitoring the misinformation that's being shared, and delivering needed medications and food to vulnerable clients, and identifying other basic needs. The cultural centers are helping to ensure that language is not a barrier to understanding how, when, and where to get tested, and how to quarantine and isolate. This is crucial to minimize the spread of the virus. Earlier this month, we worked with the cultural centers to provide an additional testing opportunity with language assistance at Lincoln High. Over 100 people were tested at that event, but the need is still there. We will have an additional testing event from 1 to 3 p.m. this Friday, May 29th, again at Lincoln High. The health department is working with Bryan Health and its mobile testing unit to offer this testing. The testing is being done by appointment only, and residents may schedule tests by calling the health department at 441-8006. Again, thank you to our outstanding cultural centers for helping to meet the needs of everyone in our community.
Thank you, Director Lopez. And once again, that testing event by appointment with language assistance on site at Lincoln High will take place this Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. And we really want to thank Bryan Health for their partnership in this effort, along with our Cultural Center leaders. Today, we turn to the topic of our community's economic recovery. Within every crisis, there are phases. The first phase of a crisis is primarily dedicated to immediate response and management. Here in City Hall, we have navigated the first phase of the COVID-19 crisis by working within our unified command structure to monitor the public health emergency and address urgent public health-related needs, including needs associated with the rate and spread of infections, testing, contact tracing, hospital capacity, PPE supply, food insecurity, homelessness prevention, rental assistance, and other issues. Working with our businesses, philanthropic, and community partners to stand up the Lincoln COVID-19 Response Fund, which has distributed over $730,000 in funds to date to nonprofits working with residents disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. We've also stood up a city website with a wealth of resources and tools for residents and businesses, created a COVID risk dial to help guide people's actions in light of the current risk level of COVID-19 in our community, collaborated with LPS and ALLO to help ensure that our children have access to online learning tools that they need, created a program to connect volunteers with homebound seniors seeking services like food delivery as well as companionship, advocated for our city's needs at the state and federal level, and we have held daily press briefings for 9 weeks now and communicated regularly with members of both the public and private sector. And these are just a few of the things that we are here at City Hall doing in collaboration with our community partners to navigate the first phase of the pandemic. The second phase of a crisis continues to involve response efforts, but it also involves a focus on recovery and rebuilding. How do we restore and rebuild our community's assets, wealth, and opportunities? COVID-19 has had an immense impact on our local economy. Just consider the fact that Lancaster County's unemployment rate has risen from about 2.5% pre-pandemic to about 9.5%, according to the latest Department of Labor data, which is the first time in 30 years that unemployment has been over 5%. Or consider that according to the recent Nebraska Business Response Survey, 87% of responding businesses reported being negatively impacted by COVID-19, with about 16% of these respondents indicating that their top concern was going out of business. And we know that COVID-19 has had a particular impact on sectors vital not only to our economy, but to our quality of life, including arts and entertainment, food services, hospitality, personal care, retail, and other sectors. And while the City of Lincoln certainly has a role to play in our community's economic recovery, ultimately the private sector will drive our local economic recovery efforts with the support of the public sector. As we move toward the next phase of the crisis, I am pleased to announce the formation of the Mayor's Economic Recovery Task Force. The purpose of the task force is to develop data-driven, locally informed strategies for supporting local business and employment as the local economy begins to recover from COVID-19, while fostering public health, inclusivity, and our resilience as a community. The task force shall be charged with developing a set of recommended strategies for supporting local businesses in adapting their business models and retaining and supporting their workforce, for supporting local workforce development and employment, and for supporting local sectors of the economy and community that have been negatively impacted by the pandemic and that contribute to our city's quality of life and competitive advantage. The task force will be co-chaired by 2 business and community leaders who have demonstrated exemplary public service both before and during this pandemic. Angie Muehlheisen, President and CEO of Union Bank and Trust, and Ava Thomas, President and publisher of the Lincoln Journal-Star. Among these women's many achievements include the following. Angie's team at Union Bank and Trust worked around the clock to administer the Paycheck Protection Program loans that have been a critical lifeline to local businesses during the pandemic. Union Bank was so committed to helping local businesses access federal funding that on the Monday after the program's Friday launch, Union Bank had processed the second highest number of loan applications in the entire country, Our local community bank processed more applications than some of the nation's largest banks, and they did so at a significant disadvantage when you consider that the largest banks could submit 15,000 applications at once, while small banks were limited to submitting one application at a time. Thanks to the diligence and scrappiness of our local banks, including Union Bank and Trust, Nebraska was one of the largest recipients of the Paycheck Protection Program funds on a per capita basis. Ava's team at the Lincoln Journal-Star have likewise gone above and beyond in their commitment to the community. The Journal-Star, in conjunction with Union Bank and Allo, created a Buy Local campaign to support local businesses, and the Journal-Star's parent company, Lee Enterprises, is providing local businesses with marketing grants to help lift the business's public profile. As the Journal-Star put it, quote, "As the local leader in news and advertising, we want to be there for you during these uncertain times. Our local marketing grant program is another way we are looking to strengthen our communities, one business at a time," unquote. Additionally, it should be noted that the Journal-Star has provided access to COVID-19 articles for free and has consistently showcased stories of resilience and compassion in our community, which have inspired and connected us. Angie and Ava, thank you both for your service to the community through your respective organizations and through this task force. We are deeply grateful for your leadership, both inside and outside of your organizations. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Angie and Ava for a few remarks. First to you, Angie.
Thank you, Mayor. It is an honor to serve as the co-chair of this task force with Ava Thomas. And I'd like to start by saying I think we all have a large role in our community's economic recovery. You know, it doesn't matter if you're a small business, a large business, a nonprofit, or if you're in the public or the private sector, we all have a role to play. And as the mayor mentioned, you know, we did have some great success with our payment protection plan program at Union Bank. And I really believe the reason we were successful is because of our philosophy at the bank. We care about each other, we care about the customer, and we care about our community. And so I'm going to take that philosophy and try to infuse that into our task force. And I don't think that'll be hard to do because in Lincoln, we have a lot of caring people. And I say all the time, Lincoln is a city that cares. So our first goal is going to be to get a passionate group of people involved in this task force to help us. And we know that our business community is really hurting right now. And there's a lot of businesses out there that are struggling to recruit and retain employees. Some employees are having issues with their daycare. There's a lot of issues about how are we going to retrain people that maybe were laid off so that they can have a different type of opportunity in our community. And so that's a big part of what we're going to try to work on. But there's also the stress on these businesses financially. Many of these businesses are struggling mightily with their finances. And some of them, as the mayor mentioned, they're just worried about surviving. So we know that the problems and the issues are very complex and issues that really need our attention. So as we've worked on this idea of a task force, we've got some objectives. First of all, we want to be strategic. We want to be data-driven. We want to be intentional. And we want to be locally informed. And so one of the things that we've done is we've said to ourselves, there's a lot of statistics out there that we can use to our advantage when we're trying to help these businesses. So we're going to look at those statistics and make some informed decisions based on those statistics. And we're also going to look at other cities our size. There's many cities facing these same issues. And if they've got some great ideas that we can use, why would we reinvent the wheel? We're thinking, let's go out there, let's look at the statistics, let's look at what other cities are doing, and let's use their ideas as well as our own. And then the other thing we think is very important is to go out into the community and visit with residents and visit with businesses and let them tell us what their unique problems are so that we can address them. We don't have all the answers and we don't even know what the questions should be. We need to ask those businesses and those residents for their feedback. And so we're going to try to understand their unique problems, and then we're going to try to develop ideas to address those problems. And so my goal, and I'm sure Ava's is the same, our goal is to get out there and learn, put together a passionate committee and task force, and do our best to help this Lincoln community not just survive, but thrive. And so I really look forward to the challenge, and I'm looking forward to working with Ava. Ava, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thanks so much, Angie. And I would just echo what you say. I'm grateful not only for the opportunity to serve on the Mayor's Economic Recovery Task Force, but especially honored to serve alongside you, Angie, a true pillar in our incredible community. I'm also looking forward to putting together a passionate group and working with the many others that are going to support us in this effort. So out of every crisis, painful as those consequences may be, so many arise opportunity, and the strength of the Lincoln community provides hope and optimism. So one of the things I'm most excited about with regard to the task force is the opportunity we have to make Lincoln a better place going forward. We've all heard the adage, leave things better than you found them, and I think that that can really be applied here. When we think about our economic recovery, we should ask ourselves not just how can we return to the way things were before, but how can we plant seeds for a more inclusive, resilient, and a prosperous future. So I thought I'd share a few examples of how the task force will try to plant those seeds. And for one, inclusivity has built into the mission of the task force because COVID-19 has revealed and in many ways magnified the disparities that exist in our community. Strategies to support businesses and employees must take into account the impact COVID-19 has had on our immigrant population, our refugee community, communities of color, seniors, and other disproportionately affected residents. And resiliency has also been built into the mission of the task force. So there may be opportunities to strengthen individuals and businesses' capacity to weather future crises and challenges, in addition to helping them better weather the current crisis. Building a strong digital presence has really been the key to our success here at the Journal-Star, and helping other businesses transition their services online is going to better serve them both now and in the future. And then similarly, helping residents access mental health services, so critically important, and remote work opportunities will better serve them both now and in the future as well. And then finally, the task force offers us the opportunity to consider all of the things that we love about Lincoln in asking us to develop strategies that support sectors of the economy and the community that contribute to the city's quality of life and our competitive advantage. As the mayor noted, from arts and entertainment to hospitality to sports and recreation and countless others, the COVID-19 crisis has presented us with the opportunity to support the things that matter most to us and that are essential to who we are as a community. I just want to take a moment to commend Mayor Leary and her team, not only for your steadfast leadership during this unprecedented time, but also for your commitment to providing local businesses, the workforce in our community, and our residents the support necessary to ensure a prosperous future for Lincoln. Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of it.
Well, thank you so much, Ava, and we are honored and delighted to have both you and Angie as our co-chairs for this Economic Recovery Task Force, and we're also very pleased that we will be working closely with the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development in this effort, among other organizations. And the remaining members of the task force will be announced in the coming days, and I'm looking forward to the innovative industry-led and public-private initiatives that emerge from this intentional effort. So thank you again. The establishment of an Economic Recovery Task Force is just another acknowledgement of the disruption that COVID-19 is causing in our daily lives. While businesses' strain is evident throughout the city, indeed all organizations are feeling the economic impact of the virus, including our local government. My administration is working diligently to prepare a recommended budget for the city's next fiscal year. Yet we are doing so with little certainty about what the form of economic recovery will be and how long it will take. In the meantime, we are also making efforts to shore up our financial foundation to address what we believe will be significant shortfalls during the current fiscal year. In addition to the resource uncertainty, we, like businesses and organizations across our community and across the country, are unable to predict what daily adjustments we will need to make to contain the spread of the coronavirus going forward. This past weekend, we all had to learn how to navigate annual celebrations in new ways, as on Sunday, we honored our local high school graduates, and on Monday, paid tribute to those who lost their lives defending our country in observance of Memorial Day. The important public health guidance provides a valuable compass to our community members as we navigate through these uncertain times. That guidance about how to live in a pandemic emphasizes physical distancing, wearing face coverings, and consistent hygiene practices. In addition, we are still living with directed health measures that limit the number of individuals gathered together in both indoor and outdoor settings in order to prevent large-scale transmission of COVID-19 that would threaten both the public's health and our economic recovery. For all of these reasons, today, I regret to announce that the City of Lincoln will not host the traditional Uncle Sam Jam event this July. The Uncle Sam Jam is an event that I know so many families and other city residents look forward to each year. This free gathering normally features family activities, live music, and a fireworks display. And when I attended the event last year, I was awed by the large number of attendees who gathered at Oak Lake Park to celebrate our nation's founding and the Declaration of Independence. Yet this year, that large number of attendees is the cause for concern. With the virus present in our community, we have determined that sponsoring an event, even one that might have been scaled back to only a fireworks display, in all likelihood would have encouraged large numbers of people to gather to get a better view. And with no way to predict how many would make that choice to gather, other than the past turnout, which of course has been significant, we have decided to err on the side of caution. I envision that we will all have learned much of the course of the next year, and we'll be able to again host the celebration at Oak Lake back next year in 2021. For now, this year, we instead encourage community members to celebrate in their own backyards or neighborhoods, taking all necessary precautions around fireworks, of course. This year, on the 4th of July, let's celebrate our country with an emphasis not only on our independence, but also our interdependence. Let's honor what it means to be an American, not only with sparklers, snaps, and spinners, but also with this step that serves to protect and care for one another during an extraordinary moment in our history as a nation. We have another update to city operations. A big thank you to our city department dedicated to improving life for our community's older adults, Aging Partners. Aging Partners continues to innovate and adapt its services during this pandemic, and just last week sent 100 fruit and vegetable packages to those who receive home-delivered meals through its programs. They delivered an additional 200 packages to their care management and waiver clients yesterday. And Aging Partners also has been working with the Willard Community Center to provide produce packages and shelf-stable meals to residents who participate in the Willard's programming. Aging Partners plans to deliver more produce packages next week, as well as in the weeks to come. A big thank you to CHI Health St. Elizabeth, which provided a generous $15,000 grant to fund these packages. This is just another example of how the people of Lincoln are coming together to help one another during these difficult times. And with that, we turn to a little more good news. Our Lincoln Police Department had a visit yesterday from a 14-year-old Boy Scout from Norris Troop 64. Spencer Jacobs has been making ear savers with his 3D printer. The thin plastic bands keep masks and face coverings from hurting the backside of people's ears. He delivered 72 personalized ear savers to LPD Tuesday. And this is just the latest donation from Spencer, who has also provided these ear savers to many healthcare workers and to firefighters. According to Cindy Langkubik's recent column in the Journal Star, Jacob tried them first on his mother, who works in an assisted living center. He has made more than 1,200 bands and has shipped them to several other states. And you can support his efforts through a GoFundMe campaign page that is helping to pay for supplies and shipping. He's quoted in Cindy's article saying, "I'm just doing it to help out the community since I'm a Boy Scout, and that's what Boy Scouts do." Thank you, Spencer, for finding a unique way to make a big and positive difference for so many during these challenging times. And finally today, a few weeks ago, we told you about Public Art Lincoln's Billboard Art Project. Starting today, you will be able to see the 10 chosen artworks on billboards across town. Public Art Lincoln received 42 artwork submissions, and the judges gave preference to local artists whose income and work have been immediately impacted by the pandemic. They also looked for artwork that could unite, support, and inspire our community. The 10 artists have all received a $1,000 stipend, and the art will stay up for at least 4 weeks. You'll find a list of the billboard locations at lincolnpublicart.org. This project was generously supported by the Sherwood Foundation, the Lincoln Community Foundation, and Lamar Advertising, and we thank them for bringing this project to our community. And with that, I'd be happy to open it up for questions from the media.
Mayor Riley Johnson from the Lincoln Journal-Star.
Hi, Riley.
Hi, Mayor. Just was curious, do you have a time frame for when you hope the Economic Recovery Task Force will convene and sort of come up with its recommendations? And is it a phased sort of approach where they may meet several times to discuss that? Or do you imagine they would issue a report with the totality of their findings?
So we expect to convene the task force in early June, and that they would be meeting weekly virtually, of course, and that there would be a time period of probably the months of June and July where they'd be developing their recommendations in collaboration, as you heard our co-chairs so eloquently state, that this is going to be an iterative process. They're going to be asking questions and getting at the root causes of problems locally and taking into account our local conditions while also scanning the horizon for emerging ideas across the country that may have some application locally. And we'll be taking our residents' feedback and input very seriously as a part of this process. And I expect that we would anticipate recommendations coming forward sometime in early August. We know that the need is urgent and critical, and we want to be rapidly developing recommended responses that then we can look and to launch in as public-private partnerships going forward. Other questions from the media? I see your name, Bill
Hey, Mayor,
Shamrock.
this is Marlo Lundak.
Oh, hi, Marlo.
Hi. No, I'm sorry, this isn't really coronavirus related, but I have not been able to get a response on this. We've had some messages from our viewers asking about, I know it seems kind of ridiculous, but some of the grass along Highway 2 has gotten really long and is causing car accidents and has become a hazard for drivers. And some viewers were asking us if we could ask you when the city of Lincoln might be able to take care of that and get that grass cut.
Did you grass, Marlo? I just want to make sure I understood you because it's a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I will say that Lynn Johnson is here on the Zoom and might be able to respond to that, but I'm not sure if, depending on if it's Highway 2, if that's a city responsibility or a state responsibility. Hold on a second, Diane. You.
I think the Transportation and Utilities is responsible, and they will be getting back to Channel 8.
Okay.
I thought they would contact them.
LTU will be getting back in touch with you, but I'll just say that, you know, we know from our seeking resident input through previous city surveys that mowing is an important priority for our residents. And so as we work through our budget process, even though we're dealing with constraints on resources, Lynn Johnson and I have had conversations about making mowing a heightened priority, especially now that we have, I think, more people than ever before taking advantage of the respite and solace and fresh air that our parks and trails provide. We know how important it is that they are well kept for our community.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Mayor, I do have one for you. With
I knew
with the positivity rate continuing to drop and testing capacity continuing to expand, is there a timeline for when we will be able to start testing random people or asymptomatic carriers?
I'm going to bring Director Lopez back up on that. I think at this point we've still have these, tests prioritized for folks who are on the front lines or who are at most at risk. But that is the goal. We want to get more and more people tested so that we can get a better understanding of the prevalence of COVID-19 in our community going forward, but also to help manage the disease as we learn to coexist with it in the absence of a vaccine.
Bill, that's actually something I was discussing with a group earlier today. Eventually we hope to be able to get to that place, but right now we're still focusing on our priority areas and those with symptoms to really make sure that we're meeting that need and allowing those resources to get there. But the most important thing is just outside of those priority groups, anyone with symptoms can get a test. And I think that's the message I most want to convey right now, because I think some people have gotten so accustomed that, you know, it was so difficult to access the test with the priority groups being those that were getting that access, that we really want to get the message out that anyone who needs a test can get a test. And that'll help us move forward to being able to offer testing to those maybe who don't have symptoms. But we also have to remember when we do that, when you're testing individuals without symptoms, you may identify some asymptomatic individuals, but you're also just doing a test that's a point in time. And so it doesn't mean that an individual can go off and feel like, gee, I'm safe now, you know, I don't have COVID. It just means at that point in time that their test came back negative.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the media? All right, well, thank you so much to our co-chairs of the Economic Recovery Task Force for joining us today. Thank you to all our residents who are tuning in. We want you to stay safe and stay healthy and stay connected, and we'll see you again tomorrow at 3:30. Thank you.